Hi. Hi, this is Steve Kaufmann here. I haven't done these for a while, so I thought I would talk a little bit about language again. I'm going to speak in English, and then I might just cover some of the same ground maybe in a couple of other languages in subsequent videos here. I was doing some research on the web, and I came across the fact that McGraw-Hill has just had their TABE, T-A-B-E, testing format for ESL, or English, approved by the U.S. Department of Education, National Reporting Service, and so forth and so on. And so I clicked through some of the links that were there, and I came to McGraw-Hill's site, and I see that they have, that there are, first of all, there are 6 levels in TABE, beginner, low beginner, high beginner, whatever. I mean, there's various different ways you can call these levels, but it's not uncommon to divide proficiency levels in a language into 6 levels. The European framework does that. In Canada, we have a very complicated thing called the 12 benchmarks, and there it's 12 levels, but whatever. But if you go to the McGraw-Hill website, you find that they are selling books and CDs for each of these levels, $80 or so for a book with CD. I know when I was in Japan, in bookstores there that sell books related to learning English, half the books that are on sale relate to a test of some kind, more than half. So testing is a huge part of the whole language learning, language teaching industry. I have no idea how much money is involved, but I'm sure it's in the billions of dollars. I can just imagine how much time is spent developing these tests. I am sure that the people who develop the tests include all kinds of academic and government officials so that they'll have an inside track on getting their tests recognized and approved. There's so many different tests. There's TOEFL and TOEIC and IELTS and now this TABE and others, more or less all duplicating each other. And I kind of have this feeling, I've spoken about testing before, but to me it's all a colossal waste of money. Speaking is so natural. It's such a natural activity. Yes, you have to have tests for engineers. You need all kinds of certification if someone's going to build a bridge or design a bridge or design a building, and there are very clear, objective standards in terms of the strength and the durability and the flexibility and all these things that can be accurately measured that are physical properties of structures. And you have to have someone designing a structure that is familiar with how materials function and their properties and so forth and so on. But speaking is just communicating. That's all we're trying to do. There is no, there's no danger. The house is not going to fall down. There is no real objective, measurable. Some people make grammar mistakes but communicate very well. Some people might score very highly on a grammar test and can't communicate. Some people require only a limited amount of communication ability. Some jobs or situations require much more. Furthermore, what are you measuring? If a person is being tested based on his or her ability to communicate because they're about to be put into a situation where they have to communicate, well, if you test them 2 months later, after they've been put in that situation, they will have already improved a great deal. And I know myself when I speak a language, sometimes I get things wrong, sometimes I get them right, sometimes I do better, sometimes I do worse. Really, we add up all the time and money that's put into developing these tests, administering these tests, studying for these tests, going to schools where you learn how to do well on these tests. If you take that money and said, all right, what do we want to know? Can this person communicate? Well, let's just sit down and talk to them. We can talk over Skype, via webcam. We can even have the person send in a 5-minute discussion like I'm doing right now in English. Send one in the language that you claim to speak. I mean, the cost of that is far, far less. And nor is it obvious that someone who's tested, and of course we test all the time. We test in schools, we test in grade 5, in grade 6, in grade 7. And the vast majority of kids studying languages end up not speaking the language. So I think that the effort and money that's put into testing is just one aspect of the language instruction industry that is, you know, spectacularly counterproductive. And I don't know what the solution is. I guess the system is structured in such a way that that's just what happens, and the experts say we need this, and so we do it. Yeah, but I think all the people that were behind the subprime lending fiasco in the United States, those were all experts too, and they built up this tremendous house of cards that came crashing down. Somewhere, hopefully, common sense has to prevail. I mean, I am quite fluent in Japanese. I have never taken a test in Japanese, and I have no desire to take a test in Japanese. And yes, French I had tests at school, but when I really improved my French was when I went to university in France, and I had to improve it in a hurry. And then my tests were not on the French language per se, but I had tests on the subjects that I was writing about. And I speak 10 languages now. I had to write a test in Chinese, but I would have learned it without the test. I was motivated by things that interested me and my interest in the language. Now, people are going to say not everyone's interested, and therefore you have to test those people who aren't interested. I say if you didn't get them to study for the test, if you tried to make it more interesting for them, a larger number of people would end up able to communicate in the language. And the biggest example of that is Japan, where 2 million people a year write the TOEIC test. They have terrible scores on average. Those people in Japan who want to learn English do. Those people who just want to pass the TOEIC test never end up being able to communicate very well. So I'm going to stop it there, and then I'm going to perhaps put up another one where I will say, another one of these where I will say the same thing in Japanese or a similar thing.